Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this second workshop, the BioMarine workshop, in partnership with our friends from the Norwegian cluster, the NCE Blue Legacy. And Wenke and Rachel are participating to the audience this morning. And I hope they can also send us their questions, because we've been preparing this very interesting workshop that will give a perspective on the last year that we spent in terms of business. And this morning we will explore a new ground. We'd like to see how the big and large companies reacted to the COVID crisis using digital tools to continue to develop their development strategy. And for this first panel, we're going to jump right in the pool and see how we can drive, a B2B strategy, capitalizing on the B2B thinking. And for this discussion, I have two gentlemen joining me this morning. Sigve is from Aker BioMarine. He's the Executive Vice President for the sales and marketing. And we have Renato Costa, who is in charge of all the capsule, health, ingredient, animal, human, and animal nutrition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. So, gentlemen, before we get directly into the discussion, I would like maybe to give you the floor so you can introduce yourself. And first, we're going to start with the northern country. And so, Sigve, could you introduce yourself for our audience?
Yeah, I can introduce myself, and thank you for inviting Aker BioMarine and me to this conference. And it's always a pleasure to talk about our products and what we do. So my name is Sigve Nordrum. I have a technical background from science and from Agriculture University, and I've been working in Aker BioMarine since 2007, so since we were much smaller, and followed our development until today. Aker BioMarine, as you may know, we are very specialized in Antarctic krill products, processing and making product, documenting them with science and presenting them to mainly three different markets. The ingredient, that's aquaculture, pet food, and human nutrition as supplements. And then we also have one arm, which is our branded ingredients business, which is mostly in US, where we have a company doing both private label production, and we have a branded ingredient ourselves in the retail in the US.
Okay, and not to mention that Aker became a public listed company a few years ago.
We became public listed actually like 10 months ago again. So we went public in June, and as a part of a process to what kind of our development process. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Sigve, for this introduction. Renato, we know Lonza. It's a big company. So tell us more about you and Lonza.
Well, thank you. First of all, Pierre, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to come and review the good friends of the BioMarine community. And yeah, it's always flattering to have the opportunity to exchange knowledge with such experienced and business-oriented people. So within myself, well, from the last time we saw each other from 2 years ago, also I changed within the structure, and Lonza also changed a lot. Actually, we come from a carve-out process where the big giant Lonza have essentially two clusters, one from the legacy chemistry and another one more pharma and nutrition oriented. And these two clusters have split. The chemistry part was carved out. So Lonza nowadays, it's still this big giant of biosciences, but much more focused in what is pharma, biotech, and nutrition. Working a little bit on the background, just out of curiosity, for instance, we Lonza are the ones that are producing the vaccine, the COVID vaccines for Moderna. within particularly our division, the consumer health, the capsules and health ingredients, previously called consumer health and nutrition. What happened within the structure? Well, the structure has also merged within the same business unit, the pharma and nutrition, meaning that we are working now all together in the approach of the offering that many times product-wise is exactly the same, but in terms of focus has different strategies. And me myself, I passed from the feed part more into the pet food and human nutrition part, which has also different challenges and different dynamics, of course.
Excellent. So thank you. So we know better about you, we know better about the companies, and I have a first question to both of you, and maybe this time, Renato will go first. So in terms of digitalization after these 12 long months, it has been very complicated, for the service provider, for the companies to connect and to be still in touch. So I'd like, to understand how to build the trust through this digital relationship, and what are the strategies that you have developed, to continue and to develop, the trust with your customer and also with your service provider?
Yes, indeed, it's challenging times, Pierre. It's challenging times that obliged most of us, or all of us, let's say, to make a quick shift and to adapt very much. We are all people's persons, us that live from sales and being it more technical or more commercial, that are out there in the street, even more for the Latin people like us, you can imagine. And all of a sudden now our life is behind a screen and working everything from the distance. Let's say the first thing that we have to realize, it was a challenge for everybody, but we had to realize that this was kind of the game would be the same for everybody. Like we would be all on the same level. And from that moment on, you just have to try to differentiate as much as possible between what are the available resources and the way that we are going to approach them. When you talk about, and the subject of this conversation is very interesting in the sense that in terms of B2C, we act B2B, but we think every time more B2C. It's to build this level of trust, which was the basis of your question. We have to understand more and more which are the consumers' dynamics at the consumer level, at the B2C level. Also, are the consumers' dynamics, what are the consumers' preferences, where is the world going now that everything has changed in terms of mindset, and then to kind of also advise our B2B partners, but also in some way to help them shaping the market in terms of what will be let's say the future directions that the market is going to take.
I think that Renato will come back, to the customer approach in a little while. From the Aker BioMarine side, Sigve, and we had this discussion prior to the workshop. You're very much, into the personal relationship. But how did you cope, with these new rules and the digitalization of this, long period? So how's Aker is reacting, to this challenge?
We had a clear full stop in last March. So being from the sales perspective, especially sort of a traveling organization, we have not been airborne, most of us, in a year's time. So we have not really met many customers physically in sort of the meeting room in the customer office. So we need to make an alternative plan, and we spent quite a bit of planning. How can we now approach the customers and the B2B customers as effective as possible, and knowing that we couldn't do the usual way, like going to having a business meeting. I think we had to sort of build both content, what content and sort of what do we have and what do we need to make. We have to build a technical platforms, and then I think in addition to these Teams meetings, that it's sort of different digital tools that could support us in coming out to customer via sort of a little bit different marketing and a little bit different approach to marketing. And then of course we need to execute on it, sort of that what do you do when you not travel? I mean, you spend a lot of time on airports and on meetings and so sort of what do the organization actually start doing? They need to do something different. And hopefully we have managed to change our behavior sort of, and that we still are seen as present and relevant for our customers. So, and that, as I said, it's for us to create a content, to create some technical tools that we are able to reach out with, and then the engagement from ourselves to come through those technical tools or digital tools to look trustworthy and human when you're coming through a screen rather than appear with yourself in a meeting room.
Yeah, and would you say that over the 12 last months, you've been maintaining this relationship with your customer, or are you more, is it more declining or increasing? How do you see, the trends? Do you have difficulties, to invent this new model? And what is the emerging trend on that? Renato?
Well, for us, and also it's challenging nowadays to compete for people's attention, because now that we are all behind the screen, everybody is wanting to do webinars and sending emails and LinkedIn ads and whatever. So we are all bombing everybody to do the same. So what we try to do to make it as personal as possible and not to lose that human touch, it's still try to make what every time that we might have a meeting, for instance, on the Lonza side, we developed our own platform. It's not Teams meeting, it's not Zoom, it's not Skype, it's the Lonza virtual engagement platform, which brings, let's say, an extra layer of contact and dynamism to the presentations when people can write, can intervene. Well, brings it an extra thing, and also gives a sense of experience, in the sense that every time you enter a new office or an office of a company that it's not ours, there is something a little bit different. So it's this that we try to transmit, to make something a little bit more personalized in a way, and that would bring people to a different environment, say, to try to make a difference. And then the second thing is that use your phone, talk to the people, use your phone. We don't have the personal touch, so the email is very cold. One thing is what you write, the other thing is what people read. So use the phone, use your voice, and preferably the image if possible.
Yeah, I like this very much. And I think that, Sigve, you will agree on that. It's the direct relationship with the customer that is important. And maybe you can also add something on that point.
I agree with Renato. So, I mean, sometimes the simplest is the best. The most basic you actually can do. And all sort of the most basic tool we have, not been able to meet people and talk, either a conference or a trade show or a meeting, is to call and talk on the phone, and maintaining a personal relationship with the key people you have. So it doesn't need to be extremely technical and complicated, but it's like keep up the basic work. And I think internally it's also to keep up the sort of the energy and excitement to do those things, because it's a bit of an experience to travel to Paris and meet people rather than sitting in your living room and calling around. So we need some sort of, you need to motivate yourself and your team to actually do those things, and I think that we have some the most successful things we've done is as simple as call people and talk sort of not face to face either, but just like on the phone. So that just the basics, keep in contact, and then comes sort of the wider you want to reach, the more technical you need to make it, because you cannot reach a big bunch of people on phone necessarily.
Yeah. For our audience, if you have questions, please use the Q&A that is at the bottom of the screen. Send me your question, and we will take them, at the end. So coming back, to this relationship, this incentive for the sales force and for the link with the customer. Renato mentioned the Lonza platform. You mentioned, the direct approach, to your customer. What will you say that has tremendously improved or changed in terms of improving this link? Because I agree with you both, the digital approach is a window. We can't see a tiny part of what's happening behind, but we miss this contact. So is there any, I would say, hints, tools that you have developed that can help to improve this relationship? Like, most of the people, they talk about Salesforce, they need about customer relationship management. It existed before, but what is the additional touch that we need now to improve and reach out and get new customers? Renato?
It's increasingly important. I mean, all the platforms, and I agree with you, Pierre, because these are all, let's say, it's a toolkit set that we had, that everybody had available before, but because we could travel, because we could do things the way it has always been done, maybe we were not maximizing or capitalizing as much as we could from these tools. And nowadays, the first thing that I notice, and we notice within our work, I'm sure that Sigve does the same, we work much more hours, because we are not waiting in the airport and we are not offline on the plane. And what does this mean? This means that there is an increased dynamics in the work. There is an increased incoming data. There is, we no longer have an excuse if I want to visit Aker because of the superb krill oil that we put in our capsules to our customers in Spain, for instance. If I need to have a meeting with Sigve, we don't have to schedule it for summer, which is when the agendas will match, and by the time that I get a good flight to visit him. No, everybody's in front of the screen all day. So every time you manage to have half an hour, 1 hour, if not this week, the next week. So it accelerates a lot of processes also. But that comes with a drawback, which is if you don't manage that data, it's hard to keep up. So definitely, Pierre, you have to be much more, let's say, savvy in this sense to maximize the use of your tools that we have available, to keep kind of a right organization and pace. Otherwise, I mean, you get lost in all this amount of information. At least my experience.
And Sigve, because your marketing was really efficient before the crisis, would you say that they have shifted, their approach, and they rely more on the salespeople to keep the contact with the final customer? Or did you see, well, would you say that it's exactly the same thing, but more on a digital way?
So I think something has shifted regarding the type of meetings we can have. I think some types of meetings, which would be technical, science, technical sharing, is more effective, easier, and it can bring in the technical competence from where they are. At the customer, they can sit in 3 different countries. They can sit in 3 different cities or in different countries as well. And it would be almost impossible to bring all them into the same meeting room before, even if you had the video option. Today, that's a natural thing to do. So you get the right people to the meetings with sort of sharing the knowledge from and to the people. So I think that has changed and developed. And I think also some of the, some of the general, if you have a trade show, you will have a booth that looks red or orange, and you will create an image of your company if it's sort of when people are well dressed and they give you attention. That's not that easy to do today. So you need to have some other ways of have that communication, sort of the awareness part and the brand building part done a bit different way from a B2B perspective. So we changed that a bit and been more active on of course on putting our content together in a meaningful kind of film or some sort of communication, which is more easy to look at than it's just like the things you get bombarded on LinkedIn or Facebook, which can create some more awareness.
So that means that it's not only professional marketing tools that you're using, it's also social networks. All social networks, Renato?
Also all social media, all social media, because we are in front of the screen working, but we are more in front of the phone as well and in front of everything. And I would say that, for instance, I'm astonished that for our nutritional supplements, one of the preferred channels from now and for the future is TikTok. TikTok. Yeah, TikTok. And we have one of our, let's say, most strategic ingredients. It's something that has to do with joint health. Joint is movement. Movement is TikTok. And all of a sudden, you have these startups that come and open your mind and say, man, you are losing a massive opportunity if you don't explore this channel, if you don't explore this route. So we have to get, it's something that this pandemic teaches us, is that we have to get rid of our old B2B, B2C boundaries that we have, thinking, and a little bit like Sigve was saying, thinking that all the meetings have a dress code and have an image code, and people are much more worried with the content that directly resonates with them. And these guys, this being it Instagram, being it LinkedIn, the algorithms are so powerful today that you can basically direct the message and the image to everybody that you would like. So I would say that our customers that grew the most last year sell via Facebook and Amazon exclusively. And like we normally say, most likely the company is 3 guys in an attic, but they explore these channels, and this is where people are. This is where they get their attention. And if they are able to communicate better than anybody within these platforms, and the results are there. It's a new world.
Oh, interesting. And is it the same type of social network that you're using, Sigve, or is it still more conventional on your side?
TikTok was new. That's of course that's a good tips. But to go into those, I think the sort of the thing is that we need to take a bit more risk than we know. I mean, we need to develop and think and take more risk. So we have taken some, not really on this platform, but we're taking some risks because you have to be different. And if you sit and think just like all the others, you are having the same sort of. It's very busy in the main channels. And I think that's an opportunity also for smaller companies and startups, because they are often sort of creative and taken by nature a risk themselves. So it's maybe a bigger challenge for a big established company to do those new exciting things, because they have so much internal machinery going and an existing base they are sort of maintaining. So I think for smaller and new companies, that's that sort of doing things differently stand out and is an opportunity. And for us, I would say the risk we have been taking more is on the content side. So we have been producing some content and engaging in some activities which has been not the base core of what normal companies like us do, like the dog mushing, like having a World Series in dog mushing, like having TV content around it and creating a lot of content. So that brings us content that we can sort of bring forward with a fairly high number of visitors. And that's a high risk, and we don't know if we get payback for that. But we think that gets a vehicle for bringing in information out.
Yeah, because I have the feeling that especially, well, you have, I would say, not technical product, but they are science-based. And to explain in a TikTok message where you want to go is somehow challenging.
But that's the key, I think, and it's a great question, Pierre, and thank you for that. And that's the key, and that's always, I think that also relates with some questions that are on the chat, which is how do you communicate to these people? Right? And the key challenge nowadays for me is that in the past we had very segmented or silo-oriented divisions or departments even within the companies, like the content that you would deliver in an R&D meeting, it's totally different than the content that you would be delivering in a sales meeting, which would also be different than in a strategic or marketing meeting. Nowadays, the big magic, and when you communicate via these channels, or you have to put an influencer or a YouTuber talking about your product, is that the challenge is, and the cool challenge is, how do we make these guys highlight the differentiating points of and the science behind of the ingredient? And when we work with big brands, with global brands, and they say this is such a sciencey thing, how do I translate this message? I think that the true value today is in here. It's when how you can say this very highly sophisticated, deeply scienced ingredients, and you can translate this to a message that our grandmother or our children can understand.
Oh, cool answer. I like it. Let's take some question, from our audience. And we have Mauro from Brazil that is asking a question for you, Renato. So you mentioned that your company is science research oriented. How's your policy regarding partnership with research institute working on marine biomedicines? And how do you manage, this relationship? If we want to keep the question, Mauro, in the context of today's discussion, say, how do you establish this partnership when you don't know the people, and how do you reach out, to new targeted, audience?
I'm not sure that I understood correctly
the question, because Renato, Mauro question is how he will contact you, but I will give him your contact, no problem for that. But my question is more, connected to the topic of today. How do you prospect new partners, new clients using these new tools?
It's and that goes a little bit to what I was saying in the beginning. Everybody's fighting for 30 seconds of your attention, and it's very difficult to differentiate or to stand out amongst the crowd. Normally, you just find something when you have all the information, all the pool of information, all the pool of players. You just find something that has a match, meaning with the mission, the vision, or the values of the company, or something that that clearly has a link with what you intend, the path or the strategic path that you intended to bring to the specific ingredient. So normally you have to be on the same page, you have to be on the same channels, and being on the same channels, then it's a matter of I don't know. I think that there is no objective answer to that. We just have to keep looking and fighting, I think.
And on your side, Sigve, how do you target this new customer using social network, if you use social network?
We have new social network and we're targeting customers. I will say, in addition to those technical things, one thing we have experienced, and I think, is that when you don't have your body language and you sort of are not present and showing your commitment by being present, it's shown to us that language is important. So that we can talk to clients in different parts of the world. But now I can travel to Portugal or just through the screen, but not necessarily sort of, I mean, when you want a customer in Portugal, maybe you should talk Portuguese or you should talk French when you talk to a French company, because that helps a bit on the nuance and the communication form, reaching out. So, but of course, regarding normal, I mean, digital tools give some extra benefits also for prospecting, because people leave traces when they join a webinar or visit your LinkedIn page, whatever. So we have also some additional traces, and you can evaluate if that's something you want to or should follow up.
So if I try to summarize, we want to use new tools. We spend a lot of time online. I don't know if we are more efficient, but we induce a change, and this change, we have no idea what will be the result. It seems that you are improving, but at the same time, are you sure that you won't lose, the regular existing base of customers that won't use these tools? Sigve.
I think all our sort of customers are somewhat using the tools, but I think so far we feel it's a risk, of course, that it's for getting new friends, getting new personal relationships, that we need to build out a lot of the B2B core business. We are harvesting a bit on earlier relationships in this period, and that either we need to further develop how to get friends on the internet, or we need to get back on meeting some people, not for the meeting itself, but maybe for taking a dinner or some social activity, so we can have that personal link to some key people.
So I understand that Sigve, would like you to speak French, Portuguese, and for you, Renato, you already speak French, Portuguese, but do you speak Norwegian if you want to meet with our friend?
Yeah, not that much, no.
So,
no, but it's an interesting comment from Sigve, and sorry, Pierre, if you allow me, because nowadays, yes, indeed, this is another thing that this social media communication helped with, which is you can always hit the button, see translation. Because in direct communications or in meetings, language is still a barrier. It's still a barrier, and it's going to continue to be a barrier. As much fluent as our customers are in English, if I'm doing a presentation in Spain in Spanish, people will dare to ask questions. And if they are not at ease in English, they will just stand back and not ask anything.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, so Mauro, I've seen your question. I will connect you directly with Renato so you can share the information. Do not worry. As for the session, I would like to thank you. I will post this recording on our website, and feel free, to review it and share it. For the next session, you'll have to log off and relog in the next link that we sent you or that you received already. Thank you very much for this insight. I look forward to see how Sigve and Renato will improve their TikTok or Facebook or LinkedIn communication, and we will keep you posted on that. Thank you very much for this first session, and see you in a minute on the other one. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good day.
Bye-bye.